Thanks everyone for stopping by and welcome to today's webinar. Your database is your data bank with your host, Brian Gubernick, and co-pilots Ryan Melville and Julie Youngblood. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available within 24 hours on the MAPS group YouTube channel. I will share the link in the chat momentarily. Currently, everyone is on mute. However, we do value group participation. So we asked that if you have any questions for your coaches, please type them into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please feel free to email us at fasttrack, FASTTRACK @kw.com. That's all for me. Brian, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Graham. And I think Caitlin, Graham, if you guys are watching that waiting room, I think people are still piling in there. So thank you, Caitlin. Guys, we have 20 to 25 minutes to crank through some detail that I'm pretty passionate about. I have my partners, Ryan and Julie, on this webinar as well, and they're going to be chiming in. But here's the objective. In the next 20 to 25 minutes, I want to help you and or your team create one or two more deals as you roll into this weekend. If we get one more deal in most of your markets, 9K, 12K, 15K commission, I would say this is a good use of 20 to 25 minutes. Julie, I assume you'd agree?
Yep.
Yep, you would. So we're going to talk about your database being your data bank. Specifically, what we know is that there is a ton of gold in your database right now that frankly you're neglecting. Why? Because it's a lot more fun and sexier to get some inbound leads, and that placebo effect of all of this stuff coming to us makes us feel great, makes us feel like there's more business to turn. But the reality is, Julie, Ryan, you guys see this every day talking with agents. The reality is that there is so much opportunity already in your respective CRM, in your database, that we're just not mining for, right? As my good friend Jason Abrams likes to say, it's like standing in a diamond mine and you're looking out across the desert saying, man, I wish I was out there. Instead of mining the diamonds that are within that mine you're already standing in. So let's dive into it. If I can change my slides. I want you guys all to, as we dive into this, think about these questions, some questions to ask yourself, okay? I really, really want you to play full out here. I want you to ask yourself, do I have a single place right now where I'm managing my database and my leads, or do I have multiple tools? There's a big opportunity. We're going to come back to that here in a moment. So do I have one place or is it all over the place? I don't care right now. I just want you to acknowledge what's going on. Number two, do I know the next steps for every lead that I have? Every lead that I have, not just the 3 or 4 or 7 that I'm working. I'm talking about the 1,000, the 2,000, the 7,000 you may have. Do you know the next step? Do you know exactly what you're doing next for every one of those leads? Number 3, can I define my active sales pipeline? What do I mean by active? Do I know who I'm currently incubating right now to generate a transaction in the next day, the next week, or the next month? Do I know who's active in my world versus inactive? Inactive doesn't mean they're not going to buy or sell with me, just means they're not my focus attention right now. Do we all know who our active sales pipelines are? Maybe one more addition to that question. If you're running a team, big team, small team, doesn't matter. Can every one of your agents define their active sales pipeline? That one might hit many of you guys a little hard as you think about that. Number 4, how do I currently rate my current leads? How do I categorize my current leads in terms of the strength and quality, as well as when I think they're going to do business? How am I defining that? What's my language around that? What's my team's language around that? By the way, are we speaking the same language? And then lastly, number 5, what are you doing for those leads not looking to buy or sell right now? Right? Those that aren't hot, those that aren't the A leads. What are you doing for them right now? And how do you make sure that those leads you're not paying super close attention to because they're not looking to do something right now aren't going to somebody else, your competition, Zillow, whoever it may be? How do you keep them in your web, in your world? Okay. So let's talk about, the topic at hand, which is how do I take these current leads and make them immediate business, right? There's a few things that we believe, that Ryan believes, that Julie believes, that I teach and have been teaching for years in coaching and training so many agents There's a few things, and we're going to focus on a couple of them today. Collecting your leads systematically, standardizing the information, categorizing them properly, and then storing them. We're not going to touch so much on storing them today, even though that is a much bigger topic than you think. We only have 20 minutes to really talk about the 2 or 3 big ticket items that are going to get you a deal, hopefully this weekend or this week coming up. Julie, I'm going to take a breath. Okay. What's on your mind as I've just run through 3, 4, 5 minutes of concepts that take us 5 months to discuss in our coaching program? I just ran through those in 3, 4, 5 minutes. What's on your mind?
Man, when you talked about, you just barely touched on leads that people think aren't good, the ones that are kind of dead. I hope you're going to touch on how those are really the best. And there's the biggest amount of opportunity there. And just because they might be dead in your world on your system doesn't mean they're not looking in other systems. They could be alive and well somewhere else.
That's right. That's right. Ryan, any thoughts? Anything you want to contribute right now?
Yeah, what a huge opportunity with the, like Julie was mentioning, the extra leads. I've coached a lot of teams, and when we get done with our program, asking them what the biggest return that they received, and it's when they hit this pond, when they hit this incubation system that we talk about, and they extract that business because it's already paid for. Those leads, you've already spent the money to generate those. Why not turn those into a piece of business? That way your ROI continues to increase for that specific lead source.
You know, it makes me think, Ryan, Julie, I want to ask you, Julie, on this. How do we know there's gold in this database? How do we know that there's deals there? You teach an exercise. It's a painful exercise, but your 1099 exercise, give me 30 seconds on that. I think everybody here, if you want to prove to yourself or prove to your team that there is in fact gold in that database, what should you do, Julie?
Okay, so we organize a call night and we take the pond or all the dead leads, right? We put them into a call system and we put 2 big pieces of paper up on the wall. One is the 1099 we saved. You know, everybody gets a 1099. And the other one is the 1099 we lost, right? And so as agents are calling through and having the conversations, I already bought, ugh, there's 12 grand, there's 10 grand we lost. Or yeah, you know what? I'm still in the market. Awesome. There's 15 grand we just saved. You do that for an hour. And now you can actually quantify financially how much was total sitting there, right? Inside of your quote unquote dead leads. And suddenly the team is sold out again. And they almost want those more than the new ones.
It is a great exercise. Again, painful. But if you want to prove to yourself or prove to your team that there is in fact opportunity there, just pick up the phone and dial a few people and you know what you're going to find. Everybody that's ever sold real estate's had this experience. You call somebody, or let me back up. You plan to call somebody on Thursday of next week. Life gets busy. You're out with clients. You're on vacation. And you're like, you know what? I'll kick that out 2-3 weeks. No big deal. Well, again, we've all had this experience. It turns out to be a pretty big deal. Maybe a $15,000, $20,000 missed commission opportunity, big deal. Why? Well, because we got busy, we neglected it, right? So now we're proving to ourselves, in fact, there is gold there. I don't necessarily have to generate new.
Hey,
So,
Brian, I'm just
yeah,
going to I'm going to throw this out there. If you guys need incentive to get this done, just know out of all the teams that I've worked with, on average, for every 1,200 leads that are called through, you'll talk to about 30%. And of that, 5 to 8 will have done a transaction without you. 5 to 8 are people that you can now add to your active sales pipeline. For every 1,200 people. That's a lot of money. If you could get 5 to 8 more people in any one of your agents' pipelines or your own pipeline in the next, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, that could change the game for them. That could change their year.
That's right. That's right. So what are we talking about when we say collect systematically and standardize? Now, again, you may look at this slide with lots of words and you're like, Brian, how is this going to generate a deal for me this weekend? Stick with me right now, okay? All leads should have this information. Every lead, every opportunity that you have sitting in your database, be it SOI, past client, or inbound lead from realtor.com or whatever it may be, sign call, I don't care where it came from. Every lead must have this information. Take a look, screenshot this. Now, if you look at this list and you're like, man, I'm disappointed. I don't have a lot of that information for my leads. Don't be sad, get excited. Don't be sad, get excited. Sounds a little twisted, I get it, right? But this represents massive opportunity for you right now. And here's why. What do you do if you don't have all this information, Julie? You got to
I was
unmute
on
to
mute.
tell us.
You pick up the phone.
You pick up the phone. Ryan, this script, you've taught it many a time. There isn't anything tricky to this.
It's so basic. The goal is to get conversation going, right? It's not to go through and if they say this, say that. It's to really just get a conversation going, and we flow right into an LP Mama script right after this, right? Like once we get that conversation flowing and we got that rapport going, we can easily start qualifying them to be in our database.
So let me recap here. You should have all this information for your leads. Hopefully you're missing some of it. When you find you're missing some of it, instead of doing what so many agents do, which is go into their email and try to find the missing information, or Google, or go to tax records, or Google people's names, or pull out the scraps of paper laying around on their desk and all the little notes and chicken scratch. Instead of doing all of that, it's such a colossal waste of time. What I want to challenge you to do today is find the 10, 20, 100 leads that are missing a bit of this information, and you call them. And when you call them, it's, hey, Julie, what's going on? It's Brian. At some point, and this is crucial, at some point over the past couple of years, you landed in my database. I don't even remember how. I don't know why. Maybe you were looking for homes on the internet. Maybe you were at one of my open houses. I don't know if it really matters. I just have a question for you. What's your real estate plans for this year? No matter what answer you get, you can easily follow up with one of the many talk tracks and scripts you've learned throughout the course of your career. Maybe they say, I don't really have any plans. And you say, really? No plans? And you could keep asking them whatever it may be. If they ultimately really don't have a plan, you could still say, well, hey, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to follow up with you every couple months if that's okay. But here's the catch. I obviously have your phone number. I just called you. I have your property address at 123 Main Street. I think that's what you didn't put in the system. I actually don't have your email address, as silly as that sounds. In order for me to effectively follow up with you, is it okay if I get your email address? Or fill in the blank, whatever it may be, whatever's missing. Once you've built that rapport, now you can go back and get this information. But here's the kicker, and this is what I want to emphasize. Missing information is a great opportunity. Filling it in, yes, it'd be nice to have all the complete information. The reality is, it's forced lead generation. Julie, real quick, touch on this for me. One of our favorite things that we've seen over the years, one of the favorite things we hear is when someone says, hey, Julie, hey, Ryan, I want to move from one CRM to another. Mm-hmm. And how do most people act? They're like, oh, it's the most painful experience known to man. I don't even want to move because of how challenging it's going to be. Julie, you've got a different mindset on that.
Well, first off, I think it's a very comforting distraction. That's why we do it so often. And it's a great opportunity for you to clean house, right? Pull it out, call everybody, have the conversation, fill in the blanks.
But that's what I want you to really focus on though, right? Instead of going through and saying, hey, I've got to transfer all of this information. It's such a challenge. Wouldn't it be a lot easier to pick up the phone? And if you pick up the phone, again, these are all people already in your system. So these aren't cold prospects necessarily. You're picking up the phone and you're using this opportunity as a lead generation moment, not a data gathering opportunity, data gathering secondary. Right?
Right.
Ryan, anything you'd add there? What should I be saying here as we're talking around this forced lead generation opportunity?
Well, if you're sitting here looking at maybe your CRM right now, and you don't have a lot of leads to go through, not everybody has a couple thousand leads to go through what we just discussed. What a great time to go back to maybe systems you used in the past. One of them being the MLS. I know when I started, the only tool I had was the MLS at the time. So I got a lead from an open house, wherever the lead came from. I would dump that into my MLS, start sending them properties, moved into a CRM, and didn't really bring those out from the MLS into the new CRM. So it's a great opportunity to go back to previous systems that you've had exposure to make a spreadsheet and just start pulling these leads in sticky notes that are sitting in your drawer right now. Like I mentioned, MLS, if you had an old Zillow account, a lot of places you can start gathering leads, and then you identify the holes that you have in the data. And then, as Brian was talking about, we go to work, we put the headset on and start dialing.
Just call them, right? And
Call
what a great script. What are your real estate plans for this year? You can't go wrong. So
Hey, Brian, I'm sorry, I can't help myself.
Oh,
You said I could talk. I will tell you, don't think because somebody bought without you that now they're a bad lead, right? Now they're just a seller. So get the data, put them in the database, keep in touch with them. One day they're going to sell that home, and I just want them to do it with you.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. You're exactly on. Julie quoted it. You know, when you dial these incomplete leads, which is your action item for today. I'd love to see you dial 10 of them, 20 of them, 100 of them. Again, these are all leads already in your system. They've already opted in to you. You're calling people that have already put their hand up, right? You're going to get through, if you call a couple times, you'll get about 30 to 40% of those leads on the phone. That's a lot. That is a lot of people you're going to talk to about real estate. Julie, you're about to say something.
Yeah, I'm in this chat real quick. Penny said, what if they say they're not interested? I'll tell you what my favorite question is to really build rapport is, hey, look, just out of curiosity, if you did have a real estate question, who would you call? You guys, we've all learned that who is the most powerful question, right? So if you did have a real estate question, Brian, who would you call? For these people that you don't know? Well, I don't really have anybody. Awesome. I'd love to earn the opportunity to be your real estate resource in Las Vegas. I just need to get a little bit more information from you. And then do what you do, guys. They go in the system, they get those property updates, they get the drips. I think Brian might end up touching on that. You just need to establish yourself as the resource, even if they're not interested right now. One day they will be, right? Real estate is always about timing and attitude. It's just not the right time. And maybe they didn't have the right attitude. At some point, you'll be important. And that's when real estate pops up in their world.
Well said. So next, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I am moving around. Can you repeat that again, please? Out of curiosity, I caught that part.
Hey, you know what, Carol, out of curiosity, if you did have a real estate question, who would you call? We use that question on our team in Las Vegas to build our database from cold calls. Right, we're a cold calling team. Most people don't have anybody that they would call.
Ryan, let's talk around the join me on this slide here, right? So now that we've established the fact that we're missing information and we've just taken effort to add that information and made it into a lead generation activity. Now let's talk around how we could categorize our leads starting right now and generate some immediate business. So when you think in terms of categorizing leads, Ryan, explain this to us. What are we talking around? What's this really mean?
Well, when I'm talking with clients, I use silly analogies and I look at buckets, right? I say, well, think about buckets. If you had 3 buckets on the ground, each of them are labeled 1 hot, 1 nurture, 1 watch, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't really matter, but you got to have a system, and you got to have a system that if you have a team, that everybody in the team has adopted, right? You can't have somebody using A, B, C, somebody else using 1, 2, 3. Everybody has to be on the same page. So you got these 3 buckets sitting on the ground. And you have names on pieces of paper, leads that you are getting on the phone with, and you are going through, and I had mentioned it earlier, let's say you're using the most generic one, the LP Mama script. At that point, at the end of that conversation, you know what bucket that lead belongs in, right? Are they looking to do business in the next 90 days? Well, I'm gonna put that lead into the hot bucket. How about somebody that's 3 to 6 months out? All right, they're gonna go in the nurture, and anybody that's maybe a little long-term is gonna put them into the watch bucket. But the trick is those buckets have a capacity. Right, that you can't just put an infinite amount of people into these buckets and expect to maintain a high level of follow-up. So we coach that, we cap that, and we cherry pick 100 people. We have 100 people that are dispersed.
Don't get ahead, Ryan. You're taking the big idea away. That's next slide.
Sorry.
But no. I love that you're going there, right? So thank you for saying that, because earlier I was saying, do you know what your active sales pipeline is? Yeah. So Ryan, you started defining active sales pipeline using this categorization. Every one of us has prospects, has opportunities, has leads. They vary in terms of strength and warmth. What you're saying, Ryan, is we've got to categorize. We've got to get a game plan together. We can't treat all leads the same. There are people that want to do things right now. And as Gary and Jay teach, Pareto's principle, 80-20, Some of these leads are at the top of your focus and should be all of your attention. And then others should be categorized differently, not neglected. They should be categorized differently. Ryan, active sales pipeline, and you said 100. We're going to come back to that here in a moment. But ideally, is hot and nurtures. Okay.
Yep.
Now, let me tee you up here. This big idea, Ryan, keep going. What did you mean by limit the number of people on your dashboard?
So we've all had this, right? Follow-up fatigue, where we log into our CRM and we just have hundreds or thousands of leads just staring at us in the face. We maybe make a couple phone calls, but what we seem to do is we exhaust energy on the ones who aren't really ready to do business. And then we get discouraged, and there's a whole mountain of people in there that needed your phone call that we failed to get to. So what we coach is that we want to find the most, I guess, the hottest 100 leads that you have at your fingertips, at your disposal, and take those 100 leads and let's break those into those 3 separate buckets that we have, because the follow-up is going to be much different for somebody looking to do business now than they are 8, 9, 12 months from now.
Julie, I don't understand. I have 2,800 people in my system I've accumulated over the course of the past decade. You're telling me I can only have 100? I don't get it.
Well, you're going to have 100 that you're going to focus on at a high level. You're going to do what you do naturally, Brian, which is you're going to cherry pick the best leads for yourself right now today.
Got it. And that's who goes on my 100. What do I do with the other 2,700?
Well, in an ideal world, they're going to get property alerts from you. So they'll be getting real estate centric information. And if you guys are really committed to continuing to build that top 100, and you're going to obviously put people under contract, so you've got room for more, you're going to call through that list at least once every 30 days.
Got it. So here's what I want to emphasize to everybody watching right now. What we've found over the years of coaching and training hundreds and hundreds of agents and teams, this is going to sound shocking to many of you. The fewer leads on an individual's dashboard, the higher the rate of success. It's counterintuitive. What do so many of us do? Well, we want as many leads on our dashboard as possible so we can work them. But the reality is we start neglecting those that matter most. So what we found, and the big idea here is, the fewer the number of people on your dashboard, the greater the energy and focus. 100 is the number we use. If you get it down to 60 or 50 or 30, I mean, think about it. How many hot leads can you work right now? Truly hot. People looking to do business right now. How many can you work? A dozen? Maybe 16? Think about that. If you had 16 buyers or sellers as an individual agent right now wanting to do business, you could not possibly work anything beyond that. Yet we throw them on our dashboard and completely neglect them. So what Julie's saying is, what Ryan's saying is, limit the number of people you're working and push the others off into a hopper or a bucket of some sort that you're gonna periodically prospect. And you're gonna pull somebody in from that bucket on your active sales pipeline and push somebody out that maybe seems more inactive than they used to be. This is a really big concept, guys, and I think it's something we can all implement right now and generate more business. These are a couple, Julie, I think you're about to say something. Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
We only, like I said, we're only going to spend 20, 25 minutes. We wanted to give you a couple things to think around. And I think we've done that. And if you take action literally within 10 minutes of jumping off this line, I can guarantee you, you're gonna unearth some business that you wouldn't have had just a half hour ago. Julie, what were you gonna say?
You're going to hate me. I was going to say that the law of 100 is a lot like marriage, right? You can only be married to one person at a time. And so if you find that they're not quite as marriage material as you thought, you got to get rid of them before you can bring another one in, right? And that's the law of 100. You're just going to top grade all the time.
Julie, I hadn't heard that analogy. You should have tested that analogy on me before we went live in front of hundreds of people. But it's still a great one. Ryan, we're going to wrap up here. What is one or two more things I should have said that can make a difference for people right now and generate another deal going into this next week and make them another 15K or so, whatever your commission may be?
I think a couple of things. One, going back to the list that you currently have, getting in there, using that as an exercise. That's going to be the most challenging one, is looking at that list saying, all right, I do identify some holes, or we have gaps in our data. The hardest part is going to be picking up the phone and making the call. Just do it. If you don't fall behind on using text message, but Text has worked for me if they didn't answer the first couple phone calls, getting them to at least acknowledge me and then always getting that back onto the phone call, right? The whole goal is to pick up the phone and make the connection. So utilizing social media, if you got somebody in there that maybe you haven't connected with in a while, but ultimately the goal is to get them on the phone. That way we can qualify them for the leads. Second thing is you touched on the law of 100, our top 100 leads. I'm telling you, that has been game changer for us and the teams and the agents that I've coached. I've had agents that had thousands of leads assigned to them and they're closing half a deal on average a month, right? It's just too many leads. They don't know where those deals are coming from. When I get them down below 100, even like you said, 50 leads, and all of a sudden they're doing 2 deals per month. It's strange how that happens, but it happens quite often. Well
said. Well, I'm going to wrap us up. Guys, you see a URL, getourplaybook.com. Graham, I also want you to chime in if there's other paths to signing up. But we have taken our 20-week one-on-one implementation program, and we've actually turned it into a group coaching program in partnership with MAPS. And we're incredibly excited about it. What we're going to cover are a lot of the database is your data bank tools and strategies we just described. In addition, though, we're going to teach you how to manage your performance, how to hold those around you accountable, how to increase your lead generation, how to specifically increase your lead conversion, right? We're going to talk about all the different strategies to create a more efficient business and have you as a real estate agent, frankly, running a business like a business as opposed to running a real estate practice. We'll also touch on how to grow your organization beyond just you, or if you're a small team, getting it to the next level. This is a game changer program. And like I said, we've run it for years one-on-one. And for the first time ever, we're bringing our implementation coaching program into group coaching via MAPS. And we could not be more excited. You can go to getourplaybook.com, which will direct you right to the MAPS site to sign up. Graham, what else should I be saying here?
No, you're doing a great job. There was one good question from, is it Mish? Is the class geared to teams or solo agents?
Oh, both. Great question.
Cool.
So we teach it. It's geared towards the kind of the solo agent in terms of the strategies and the techniques. But as a team owner, you are watching these things and you're implementing them in your team as well. So it's kind of across the board. We focus different energy in different areas, depending on who the audience may be or who it may most resonate with. But the reality is, it's just about doing more business. And as a team owner, you're going to want to learn how to empower your agents to do more business. As a solo agent, you're going to want to apply these techniques specific to your own book. So it's across the board, and there's going to be something for everybody there. Great question. Any other questions around the program? Cool. Well, with that said, go to getourplaybook.com, guys. Check it out. We'd love to have you. It's Ryan, Julie, and me for 20 weeks, right? 20 weeks? 20 weeks at a fraction of the cost that we've charged over the years to run this program. So we hope to be working with you soon. Appreciate all your time. Go put some of this into action. Otherwise, you just wasted a half hour. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.